All right, you guys, good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this. Um, we're going to be looking at finding the inverse by hand, and I will come back in the next video and talk to you about how I'd approach these problems using Desmos, okay? And the problems are going to be a little bit more interesting. So I saved the ones for you to do by hand. I've chosen ones that are a little bit easier, okay? All right, so it says find the inverse function in slope-intercept form, mx plus b, of f of x equals negative x minus 2. Okay. All right, so you may or may not remember from a previous class that f of x is just an alternate approach to using y. Okay, so y equals f of x, they're all the same thing. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take that f of x and I'm going to rewrite the problem using y. So y equals negative x minus 2. Okay. All right. Then, so if you remember from my introduction video, I said that, when we're looking at the picture, that line y equals x, the table, you got that symmetry, but then your table also flipped over. Okay. So when you are taking the inverse, you are flipping your x and your y values. So that's what I'm going to do here. Is I'm going to take this problem and I'm going to flip the x and y. So where I see a y, I'm going to put x, and where I have x, I'm going to put a y. Okay? All right. Now I'm just going to solve for y. And you've been solving for y since math 1. So I need to get y by itself. So I'm going to add 2. So that gives me x plus 2 equals negative y. So I'm going to divide by negative 1. Okay, remember when we solved for y, we divided each one by negative 1, so that way we could see the slope, we could see the y-intercept. Okay, we don't want any parentheses in there, we don't want any giant fractions. So y equals negative 2, negative x. Okay? All right, so honestly, I've only taught you one new thing, where you switch x and y. Okay, you've done the rest of this. You have solved for y since math 1. Okay, now granted, I understand I wasn't your math 1 teacher, but I promise you, you were taught how to solve for y. Okay, all right, so now I've got this y equals negative x minus 2. Okay, and if you look at Delta Math, okay, it says f to the negative 1 x. Okay, well, that f to the negative 1 has inverse notation. Okay, now you can see it in a couple of different ways. You might see y to the negative 1 equals negative x minus 2. That's also used for inverse notation. And then what Delta Math is using function notation. So I literally just write my answer this way. And that's it. Okay, so I'm going to type here negative x minus 2. Okay, and submit. There you go. All right. Now you might be looking at it, you're thinking, it's the same problem. Okay. That happens. Okay. That happens. Okay. Doesn't mean we're wrong. Okay. We did everything correct, but that can happen. Okay. All right. So let me do another one. All right. So I have f of x equals negative 1/3 x plus 7. Okay. So same thing. I'm going to replace the f of x with y. So y equals negative 1/3 x plus 7. All right, I'm going to switch the x and the y's. So x equals negative 1/3 y plus 7. All right, and now I'm going to solve for y. All right, so for me, I don't like fractions in my problem. So I'm going to multiply through by 3. So 3x equals negative 1y plus 21. Okay, and that's your choice on what you want to do with fractions. I personally get I get them out of my problems. Okay. All right, so I'm solving for y. So you just subtract 21. So that gives me 3x minus 21 equals negative 1y. I'm going to divide by this negative 1. I'm going to divide each of them by negative 1. So I get y equals negative 3x plus 21. So y equals negative 3x plus 21. Okay, inverse notation would say we'd make that y to the negative 1, or sorry about that, negative 3x plus 21. Okay. Oh, great, that was all on video, but oh well. Okay, so negative 3x plus 21. There you go. Okay. All right, so I'll come back in a second video and I will show you how to use Desmos, but this is all you're doing. I mean, secretly, all I'm asking you to do is solve for y. Okay? Good luck.